Hey, what's up? Welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Luca, and this is Look at Me Look, where you get to look at me look at YouTube videos. The title of today's video is Tesla Model S Plaid delivery event. I don't even want to say anything more. Without any further ado, let's get it. And 3, 2, 1, let's go. Here at the test track close to the Fremont factory. What are we going to see tonight? Or today? It's in the UK here, so it's in the morning now. Yep, Franz van Holzhausen, something, head of design, with a big old sledgehammer, taking no prisoners. You're gonna bludgeon the short sellers.
Ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Fremont, California. We're out here at the test track of our Fremont factory, just a few meters away from where we actually build all of our Tesla vehicles. We're super excited to have you all here. In fact, almost 9 years ago, on June 22nd, 2012, we had our first Model S delivery event right over there.
I remember that.
So we've come a long way in a few years.
So they've come so far. They've come so
far. The best car in the planet, and we've been working tirelessly every day to try to make that happen. And tonight, we're going to show you the next best version of Model S.
I remember when everybody doubted them. Everybody.
And I brought this along
now they're one of the biggest companies in the world.
Because we might be breaking a few records. But more about that later. So let's get Elon out here and have him show you how we made the best car in the world.
Let's see it. Let's see it. I actually think the Model S is quite seriously could be the best car in the world.
A car of any kind.
I drove a few times in it.
This is an ambitious goal to create a whole new kind of car. A lot of Wall Street is betting Tesla can't get it done.
Yeah. A few years ago, like the share price was 1/20th or so of what it is today. I remember when I was like grabbing people by the collar saying, "You need to believe in the vision. Just put a bit of money in it." Now it's like a behemoth. And the interior of the Plaid Model S looks gorgeous. It kind of reminds me of like a more athletic version of the interior of the Model 3. The little touch screen thing. This is a real like toy for people. Amazing. Who is that? Is that Elon? Yeah, it's Elon. Jesus Christ. What? Good grief. Did you see that launch? I think we'll need to see another angle of that. You know, the previous generation of the Model S, when it was not even in ludicrous mode, but insane mode, if you floor it, it feels, I don't know, feels like the Hulk when his soul like it becomes disconnected from him. You really feel like the G-forces. Then there's ludicrous, and now there's Plaid mode. Oh, I love his jacket. Yeah, awesome jacket. Awesome jacket. Like a rock star. the Plaid.
All right.
thing.
Thanks for coming and thanks for tuning in. So,
You're welcome.
as Franz was saying, this is 9 years since we delivered the first Model S, the first car produced here in Fremont. So almost a decade. And I think we're really taken it to a whole new level with with Plaid. Some of you may know that, I mean, basically our product plan is stolen from Spaceballs. So we've gone Plaid speed. What we really wanted to achieve here is like, well, why make this really fast car that's crazy fast and everything? And I think there is something that's quite important to the future of sustainable energy, which is that we got to show that an electric car is the best car, hands down. You know, so it's got to be clear. It's like, man, this is sustainable energy cars. It can be the fastest cars, can be the safest cars, can be the most kick-ass cars in every way. And that's why we did the Plaid.
Also,
It's
if you crank up
down, this is the way to go.
power and the energy specs, the
yes.
batteries, the motors, and everything else,
Pressing slide.
you know,
There we go.
there's
All right.
spin-offs in other different business verticals
We've made huge improvements
that
from
don't
the
necessarily
original
apply to
car.
fast cars. They can apply to other
And
things too.
well, actually, who here? Has anyone here? Probably some have bought the early Model S, like the. Yeah.
Several friends of mine did.
Well, thank you for your support. You can see the huge improvements we've made. So, and it started off with good performance, but now with Plaid, we've managed to break the 2-second barrier, if you will.
Good
No
Lord.
production car has ever done 0 to 60 in under 2 seconds.
In under 2 seconds.
So-
No production car. Neither the Koenigsegg,
and this
McLaren,
is a
Bugatti.
4-door car, seats 5 adults, et cetera, et cetera. It's like, you know, this thing is moving. I mean, this is like what I call like limit of physics engineering. It's not relative engineering. It's like, what does physics say we can do? Because physics is the law and everything else is a recommendation.
Yeah.
So, in addition to a crazy performance, it's also got a longer range. Even with the tri-motor high performance, it's got almost a 400-mile range. And in the dual motor configuration, it's got a 412-mile range. So, 420, give or take.
412.
So,
Pittsburgh.
that
Very
joke will
close.
never end. So, and we've also improved the supercharging speed, so you can get 187 miles of range in 15 minutes. So,
Wow. That's amazing.
yeah,
That's
so
more than
the
10
quickest
miles
production
per
car,
minute.
to be clear, of any kind ever made, like I said, first to ever break the
No, that's
2-second
not
barrier.
Sorry,
Later
it's
tonight,
early in
you
the
will
morning.
get a chance to drive around the track, and like this is really something you have to feel to believe, because it hits you right in the limbic system. It's like, damn, like, whoa, yeah.
I don't doubt that.
It is
Already for the
basically
previous
what is a
generation
car that we could,
vehicles, it was like that.
how can we make a spaceship a car, you know? So.
It's a roller coaster on wheels.
So,
What I really like
So-
about Elon is that he doesn't
and then
prepare for
in
these
terms of additional
speeches.
stats, it's also the fastest production car to complete a quarter mile, so 9.23 seconds. It's got a 200 mile an hour top speed, over 1,000 horsepower, almost 400 mile range.
crazy.
Like I said, charges so fast, you know, it'll be probably done by the time you have a coffee, basically.
I really like that he doesn't rehearse.
And talking about some of the
It doesn't make him
sort
seem
of,
sterile.
details
He just-
behind it. So
just-
we have an
The guy that
all-new
sat
battery
next to you
pack.
in class got up to
And
give a
then
presentation
something we're really proud of
nervously.
is the new carbon sleeved rotors for the motor. So this is the first time that there's, to the best of our knowledge, there's been a production electric motor that has a carbon overwrap rotor. So
That seems like SpaceX technology, composite overwrapped titanium spheres.
this is a super hard thing to
coal
do
gas thrusters.
because carbon and copper have, at very different rates of thermal expansion. So in order to do a carbon overwrapped rotor, you've got to wind it at extremely high tension. It's a very hard thing to do. We actually had to design the machine that makes the rotor. So
This is
no
a
such machine
very
exists
important
before.
philosophy.
Also means we can have the electromagnetic field be super efficient and have a tight gap even at super high RPM. And it's single speed from 0 to 200 miles an hour.
That's
so
insane.
The RPM is so crazy that just the centrifugal force wants to expand the rotor. So the carbon overwrap actually holds the rotor, basically holds the rotor together.
Can you imagine that?
It's like madness.
Like if you go in the pool and you swing your hands really fast like this, you feel your fingernails pulling.
Let's see.
It's spinning so fast that it wants to expand the metallic axle.
In fact, we're going to show you the
needs
motor.
a
In fact, you might have a
carbon
chance to
overwrap
see
to
the drive unit.
hold it in place.
And we can go closer.
And look at this. Looks like some kind of alien technology.
I mean, this is really an amazing
That glittery
work
stuff
of
seems to
engineering.
be the composite material.
Yeah. There's just never been an electric motor like this. I mean, you could pick this motor up with your hands.
That's insane,
And it can accelerate a 2-ton car to 60 miles an hour in 2 seconds.
Yeah.
I mean, that kind of power to weight is insane.
Yeah, that power
Yeah.
to weight ratio is ridiculous. You can pick that thing up with your hand. And
So it goes.
Good grief.
It goes up to 20,000 RPM and maybe a little more. So.
Good lord, man! How do they make pieces? Like I remember when I was working on
a close look at it.
projects sort of like this.
So. Let's see. Okay, let's switch back to the
They
slide.
wouldn't have a very long life, and they were able to crank everything up to 11 and make them last forever. It's a real testament to the engineering know-how.
So we
not
also
just
were able
Tesla,
to achieve the lowest drag coefficient
SpaceX and all
of
the
any
other companies
car ever
that
made.
connects Tesla.
So, yeah.
This is extremely important for long
So
range.
really, I think Tesla engineering has outdone itself here.
Really?
This is a car that looks good, but also gets an incredible drag coefficient. And this is the true drag coefficient of the car, including with wheels in motion. Sometimes you'll hear drag coefficients quoted, but that'll be without the wheels moving. And the wheels cause sort of air churn and incremental drag. Yeah. And this is the actual drag coefficient of the car. So it's to have a good-looking sports car, have that lower drag coefficient is really tough.
Mm.
So.
Those wheels create all these
We also
turbulent
have
eddies and
the
vortices.
latest and greatest in heat pump, which is basically the HVAC system for the car. It's 30% better cold weather range and requires 50% less energy for cabin heating in freezing conditions.
Mark my words, they're going to get into the
you'll see
HVAC
very little
space.
degradation in cold weather.
They're going to get into the
and
space
the radiator
for homes,
is twice as
for
big
commercial
for
real estate,
heat
for industrial real
protection.
estate. I bet
you'll
you
be
they
able
will.
to actually do back-to-back 0 to 60s, go on the track, just haul ass, and as you'll see tonight, this car is just going to do over and over again, and it doesn't get winded.
God.
I think we got to take this back to maybe the Nürburgring.
Yeah, let's see how
see
it
what
goes.
happens. And then, of course, when we first delivered the Model S, there were no superchargers anywhere in the world.
Now they're ubiquitous.
So back in 2012, no superchargers anywhere. Now there are 25,000 superchargers all around the world.
That's insane, man. How many other car companies have got their own gas stations?
And we opened 30 just in the last week.
Think about how much recurring revenue
And
that generates.
we're just going to keep going so that you can basically travel anywhere you want with peace of mind, super easy. Keep increasing the power of the superchargers. We're 250 kilowatts. Obviously, that we'll start going to 280, 300, 350. Yeah.
I live in London, and there's some superchargers here that
and then
you can never find a
also
spot.
engineered
There's
for,
so many cars in there.
Maximum safety as well. So, in fact, this is
There's
designed
so many
to
Teslas in
be
London.
our aspiration for this car. It still has to be tested by the U.S. government, but we think we can get the lowest probability of injury of any car ever tested.
This is a stat that goes greatly underappreciated. This is what matters more than anything.
In fact, these are the
these are like
actual
tanks.
NHTSA probability of injuries numbers. All top 5 cars
Or Teslas.
with the lowest probability of injuries ever tested, all 5 are Teslas. So,
Because they have this massive, like, heavy skateboard-like structure at the bottom, which is a
with
battery
the Plaid
pack
Model
that
S,
creates a
what you have
very
is
low
a
center of
car that
gravity.
is faster than quicker than any
Metallic
sports
frame
car,
that can't
and like faster than
just
any
too
Porsche,
much now.
safer than any Volvo.
Yeah.
In the same car. That's insane. It's like, you know. Yeah. So, and then the design, we've obviously made a lot of refinements to the exterior, and then we've completely redone the interior.
It almost feels like the iPhone
once you
4
drive
version
the new
of the
Model
iPhone.
S, it really feels like you're driving the future.
Yeah, it does have this futuristic
On the
vibe.
Corsica,
It's like
especially
different
like
from the other
Tesla
ones.
Corsica, it feel very last century.
Previous Model S.
So, all new interior. As you can see, we changed the orientation of the main screen, so it's easier to watch movies and that kind of thing in landscape.
Those phones need to be charged in that
Exactly.
angle to be aligned with the
In other notes, we have
force
ventilated
vectors when the car
front seats.
accelerates. Otherwise, they'll snap if they're too upright.
Anyway, I think it's
Is that
it's
steering
really,
wheel road legal?
You drive around and it really
Oh,
feels
it
like,
is,
okay,
'cause that
we're
would
in
look
2021.
awesome.
Great. We have this yoke steering wheel, which is a little different, but I think once you try it, you'll think it's great.
Yeah, I love it.
The visibility
love
of
it.
the main screen is super clear, especially for autopilot. So you can see
love
the
it.
entire panoramic view you can basically see the mind's eye of the car.
Once you go in a
and,
Tesla and you drive it,
Yeah,
you realize that
it's really cool.
this is how it's meant to be. It's wonderful. It's so delightful driving with the.
And then
interface
we've gotten rid of the stalks. So, like, I think generally
Instead of that, you just press the button.
all input is error. So we want, if you have to do something that the car could have done already, that should be taken care of. The software should just do it. So you can actually just literally walk up to the car, it senses that you're approaching, unlocks the car based on your phone. It just basically pairs with your phone, knows that you're coming to the car, opens the door, extends the handle, you sit down, and you just drive. You don't
Interesting
have to press
idea.
drive or anything like that. The car knows you want to drive.
Is
Figures
this going
like,
to be?
Yeah, good guess. You know.
How will this work if you actually need a forceful entry into the car when you're not the primary
to
driver?
know where the obstacles are. So obviously, if there's something
rescue
in front
somebody.
of you, you want to go backwards, and if there's something in back of you, you want to go front. Most likely, and then it will adapt to your to your needs. So if it sees that you're always doing this, you're changing to reverse or forward in particular situations, it'll try to remember that. And geocode it to that location, so then you won't have to do it in the future. It will just keep minimizing the amount of input that you need to do until the car just reads your mind. So it's gonna be great.
One thing I love about Tesla is that the footprint of products and technology that they work on is far greater than just cars. And seeing this level of
we moved the interior so that the
cool technology, innovative, disruptive
the front
technology
IP
being
is
applied to
actually,
cars.
Slimmer and thinner, so we were able to move the
Makes
front
me
seats
imagine
forward,
all
giving
sorts of
more
crazy
room
things
for the
about
back
what they
seat.
could do elsewhere
And
too.
we reclined the back seat more and reduced the interior trim. So basically, the current Model S, the back seat is not amazing, but the new one, it's actually a legit back seat, I'd say.
Awesome.
It's like
awesome.
It's good.
I'm 6'6" and I barely
So
fit in the back seat of the
I think
Model
it's
S.
quite a comfortable
So I think
back
this
seat,
is great
and
news.
you've got also a rear screen, and you can control everything from the back. Yeah. So it's got dual inductive chargers for your phones in the back and dual inductive in the front.
I love how
it's got
clean
a
this
36-watt
thing
power
is,
supply,
man.
so you can actually charge like your laptop.
There's no
or
conversion
anything.
from gas
It's
guzzling
a
to
36
electric
watt,
battery, blah, blah,
USB-C.
blah, to phone charger. All of it is just pure electric.
It can also
love
pair
it.
with multiple Bluetooth devices
So much
simultaneously.
simpler. It's meant to be this way.
Multiple people could be controlling music, or somebody could be playing a video game. So it's you can do multiple wireless things simultaneously. And then, similar to the Model 3 and Y, instead of having air vents, we use intersecting
My goodness.
columns of air. So, and we just vary the speed of the air. So you don't have to. There's no vents.
If you have the ability
that
to
you can see.
afford a
You can
Tesla,
just touch the screen
I
and
really
move the
recommend
screen
that you
around,
get
and
one.
It'll just move the air
Provided
wherever
it
you want
doesn't,
it. And the
stress
air
your
is much more
finances too much.
diffuse.
I really recommend it.
It just feels like an invisible air conditioning system.
It feels like
It's great.
owning an iPhone in a time when everyone else owned
And
Blackberries and
it's
Motorola
a
flip
tri-zone,
phones.
so there's a zone for the rear, and a front and left front, right front zone. So. And then the 17-inch touchscreen it feels like a movie theater. The sound is incredible.
This is going to be extremely important
so
when full autonomy
you
comes
really,
into play.
it's like a home theater experience. So if you're sitting somewhere waiting, or for whatever reason, or at a supercharger, you can just catch up on what your favorite Netflix show or iTunes or whatever the case may be, YouTube.
What's the point of owning
and
a
of
house
course,
if you own a Tesla? You have
just
everything
play
in
video
it.
games.
Think about how expensive
And the same thing for the
homes
rear.
are.
So you can rear.
Just get a Tesla. Man.
It basically the system feeds all three screens.
I just live in a
And so you can do
Tesla.
things the front, rear. It's great.
It's got everything.
We have an all-new sound system designed by Tesla Audio, and we have acoustic glass throughout the car, so the car is very quiet when going down the highway, even at very high speeds, like you're doing 100 miles an hour.
It's
still quiet.
incredible, that sensation when you're driving fast and you just hear the roaring of the
This is
air
a Tesla
without
designed
the
codec,
groaning
so
of the engine.
it will keep uploading improved versions
feel like you're gliding.
of the sound system. It's completely software defined.
You feel extremely
we'll
connected
keep
to
tweaking it and dynamically
the outside when
adjusting
you're driving a
to
Tesla.
whether
Whereas
you're
most
using,
cars you feel confined on the inside,
streaming,
don't you?
or
It
whether
feels
it's
like you're in
coming,
a...
via Bluetooth from your phone or different streaming services. It'll actually, and if the data rate changes, it'll adapt that. So basically, it always sounds good. And that's just going to get better. So, yeah. And then we've got an all-new UI. So...
I just want to mention one thing, which is that a big chunk of all these bells and whistles that you see, I think they exist for
Really want waypoints.
the Model 3 as well, and cheaper cars too. So this is not going to be an exclusive vehicle for the ultra-rich. And I think that once autonomy comes into play, I think everybody is going to have access to the
Okay,
fleets
everybody here
of
want
these
waypoints?
self-driving cars. Same way with Uber.
Okay, fine, we'll do waypoints.
Yeah, it's
God damn it.
waypoints. Man,
All right.
they need to do the waypoint thing for
Dude.
sure.
All right, we'll do waypoints, fine. But obviously, it also interfaces with your calendar. So if you just
Man,
basically if you just get in the car and you just sort of swipe down from navigate, you don't have to enter anything. Just swipe down. The car will automatically figure out if you want to go to home, work, or what's on your calendar. So it'll default to calendar priority.
I love how-
And obviously
I love
if you're at home
technology so much.
And it's kind of a weekday or whatever, it assumes you're going to go to work. So you just swipe down, automatically navigates to work, and checks traffic.
some
and you put it on
companies
full
like
route.
this really know how to
So
make
it's just like
products
a
that
nice
delight
little
people who
easy
own
thing.
them.
And you can actually set it to automatically generate the most probable route. So you just get in, and it's going to guess what route you want, and you don't even have to press anything. Yeah. So anyway, the UI is
The delightful
basically easy to
vehicle.
move around,
Delightful vehicle.
expand, contract, shift music to the left, to the right, and we're going to keep improving it. So it basically feels like a modern tablet or phone.
You know, most of the other
And then
luxury cars that have these touch screens, it's very
not PS
different.
not
Sensation of
PS4,
touching from
PS5.
Tesla. Tesla is crisp, like an iPad. It's awesome.
So I think there's never been a car that has state-of-the-art computing technology, state-of-the-art infotainment, where
this is absurd.
this is literally at the level of a PlayStation 5.
This
So
this is like
yeah,
when
I mean,
during the
think about
iPhone
the future
unveil from
where
Steve
the
Jobs, he
car
mentioned that it
is
runs on
often
the
in
operating systems that the
autopilot, the full
laptops run
self-driving
on.
mode. And
Everybody's like,
entertainment
"What?
is
We're
going to
used to
become
phones
increasingly
running on their own
important.
separate,
So
clunky,
you're going to want to watch
crappy pieces of
movies,
OS."
play games,
This is like that.
use the internet. Just all
Absolutely
thing,
beast
things you want to do
horsepower,
if you're not
like
driving.
in terms of computing
And
for
this
video
is
games.
actual PlayStation 5 level performance.
That's
so-
absurd. It's absurd.
We're going to try to do a gaming demo.
Look at that, man. Why would you want to
Yes.
buy a house when you can buy a Tesla
It can
and
play
live in it,
Cyberpunk.
for God's sake? Just shower at the gym.
This is
and-
somebody playing the car right now.
I'm joking.
So playing live. Yeah.
I'm joking, but
So it's
I'm not really joking as
like
well.
pretty great, So have fun in the game. It's gonna be great. So
Man,
all right.
this is
So how
crazy
many
that
frames?
this
60
comes
frames
from
a
a
second.
single.
With
This is
state-of-the-art games.
This comes from the touchscreen, of the vehicle. How do you control it? Is it with the
All
steering
right.
wheel?
So we got incredible performance, interior of the future. I think engineering that's practically alien.
Yeah.
So, like I said, simultaneously
magic.
the safest car in the world and the fastest. This is insane. So, we also got look at some things like the power curve. So I think this really illustrates the difference.
Good
It maintains
Lord.
1,000 horsepower all the way up to 200 miles
Oh
an
my
hour.
goodness. It's a monster, this thing. You're
car
getting
crushes.
millions of dollars worth of assets in the vehicle
All right.
for the price of, what, 120K? Which is still quite a bit for
So-
most people. But
All right, and deliveries begin now. So we're in production. We're going to deliver the first 25 cars now, and then basically we should be at several hundred cars per week soon, and 1,000 cars a week probably next quarter. So please enjoy. We put a lot of work into this. I'd like to thank the incredible work of the Tesla engineering and production teams.
yeah, unbelievable. These people who put these
My hat
cars
is off
together,
to
designed
Tesla
them.
engineering production, design the whole group. They put their heart and soul into this. So hope you enjoy.
I have so
it.
much
So
appreciation
let's deliver
for
some cars.
the team at Tesla. Elon Musk is more the public-facing figure. Of course, he's very much involved as well, but just like everyone else is. But most people who think about Tesla associate Elon with Tesla. Don't forget, please, the exceptional individuals who really believe in this mission and are working their butts off to make sure that these vehicles, come to life. So just a few thoughts now, as this video is beginning to wrap up, on what I think about Tesla, where I see this going, what are my thoughts. I don't necessarily see Tesla as a car company like Mercedes, BMW, and all these others. Fundamentally, Tesla is an energy company, I would say, because their goal is to accelerate the advent of sustainable production and consumption of energy. So that's a very broad umbrella term for both power plants as well as the devices that consume power from the power plants, like cars, things like that. So I think that at their core, they're an energy company because the underlying foundational technology that enables everything else is the batteries and the battery packs. That is an energy component. And on top of that, they're also a technology company. So they build not just the products, but they make the products that make the products. So the machine that builds the machine. And even if you were able to make a commodity, right, a company that is able to engineer this behemoth manufacturing process that could mass produce that commodity item at a scale that enables them to drastically undercut the prices of their competitors and make these affordable and available everywhere, that is going to be an entirely different kind of entity. And Tesla is really that. I think it sits at the nexus of it sits at the overlap between an energy company, a technology company, and also a transportation company. the vehicles are really the first manifestation of the vehicles are really the first part of this grand vision to accelerate the advent of sustainable energy. And people who talk about Tesla has got their competitors coming and they're going to get in trouble because the competition is coming, I don't really think that the mission statement is to accelerate the advent of it. And one of the real things that they wanted to do in order to accelerate these competitors coming to the market was open sourcing all their patents. If Tesla was really concerned about creating this moat around them to accumulate as much money as possible into a gigantic war chest at the expense of everybody else, then they wouldn't have done this. But they open sourced their patents, which would enable other companies to look at the patents and figure out a way to build vehicles around that. But what is tragic is that most other companies haven't. Even the giant behemoth companies of the world, they didn't really capitalize on this. And so years and years and years have gone on where Tesla has built one vehicle and then the next, and then expanded into different markets, expanded into different vehicle categories. And they've just been eating market share from the entire vehicle market, which is being funneled by regulations to go down the sustainable route, because most nations of the world want to curb their emissions. They want to go carbon neutral by a certain date, and the automotive industry is really one of the products that come out of car companies. So the cars themselves are major contributors to pollution, and so laws and regulations and also socioeconomic, political, market pressures are being exerted on these big OEMs to start making electric cars. And, as a result, I think that all of the other car companies of the world have really missed on a gigantic opportunity to start working on electric cars. And I actually don't even think that they consciously said, nah, we're not going to do this. I just think that fundamentally it was an extremely, how to describe it, the senior management of those companies, right, who ignored Tesla for so long and thought of them as a little tick that would be taken away like that. They viewed the other mainstream OEMs as their big competitors, and the senior management of those companies probably thought it was an unwise decision for them to do a hard pivot into electrification, because they have this enormous infrastructure that is already deployed to construct internal combustion engine vehicles. And to reconvert their fleet into electrical vehicles is quite a Herculean undertaking. It means that they have all of these assets on their books that essentially at that point would become, non-productive anymore. You have these huge contraptions and processes, and you have this mechanization in place, these robotic arms that are used to help assemble the internal combustion engine components. How are they utilized if you go electric? Because electric is simpler. They have these hordes of engineers, technicians, etc., that are really world-class in building internal combustion engines, and the cars that wrap themselves around that. How are they going to be used if you go electrified? Because it's a completely different paradigm. And so most of these mainstream OEMs, at the time they made the judgment call that it probably it would basically significantly compromise the financial health of the company to this hard pivot. And most of these OEMs are aware that at this point today that it would not be affordable for them to do that. They'll go bankrupt. And so essentially what's happening now is that they're just buying, they're buying like carbon credits or EV credits from Tesla at this point, because they can't afford to do a hard pivot. So they just have to essentially pay a fine for the fact that they're not doing that and pay it directly to Tesla. So I think Tesla is... their core underlying mission is to get a lot more car companies involved in electrification, but many of these car companies didn't want to. They sat idly, assuming that Tesla would go bankrupt, but they didn't. And now pretty much every single one of them is going to go bankrupt at this point, because they will not be able to migrate their entire fleets to purely electric. So I think one of the reasons why there's this enormous valuation in Tesla is that one of the things that's priced into the gigantic valuation of Tesla, even though most people think of it just as a car company, what's priced into that huge valuation is the total annihilation of the rest of the car market, simply because the market is moving towards electric, and most of them are going to go bankrupt as they migrate towards electric. So who will emerge from the ashes? There will be newcomers, as well as the few OEMs that actually did migrate to electric. But Tesla has such a gigantic lead in front of everyone. They have this brand loyalty, they have these network effects taking place, and they have this infrastructure like superchargers that give them an enormous competitive advantage. And no other car company is able to out-innovate them. It's impossible at this point. So there is this sentiment among investors that are both institutional and retail investors that Tesla is going to be the car industry as a whole, because not only are most car companies going to die from the fact that they can't electrify, but also in terms of the self-driving car industry and transportation as a service industry, Tesla is leading the pack there as well. They just have this gigantic fleet of vehicles that are streaming and uploading huge amounts of data that are used to finely tune these gigantic machine learning systems that are basically undergird the self-driving stack. And most other car companies, they can make these really cool architectures for like machine learning architectures for these vehicles, but really what it all boils down to is data. You really need all the data, and you can try and generate this data using GANs or using virtual you can play games, etc. that could generate the data for you, but nothing beats the real world. And Tesla has the ability to do that because they have this gigantic fleet that's growing at this rate of like 1 million cars a year additionally, deployed everywhere, not just in certain territories like California, but everywhere. You see Teslas everywhere. So that's that. One of the things that makes me fairly bullish about Tesla at this point still, even like people are thinking, can it grow higher? One of the things that I'm extremely interested about is their stationary battery packs. So not the stuff that you see in cars, but things that you see that are meant to, that you see in homes or elsewhere. And in particularly what I'm most interested in is grid scale utility, mega packs. Because then what you're able to do at that point is engage in something called energy arbitrage. And you can do all sorts of things, like you can draw power from the grid during non-peak hours where the price is lowest, right? And then you can discharge it back into the grid when the price is highest. And you can basically print money recursively by doing that. And you can also smooth out the peak demand curves in cities for energy. And one of the reasons why there's this mindless construction of power plants everywhere is not necessarily because one of the reasons why we do that is because it's just to handle certain spikes in demand during peak hours. The grid is built in such a way that there's not a lot of energy storage. So you generate energy, power it discharges into the grid, and if it's not being used somewhere, that's a problem. It needs to be charged somewhere. Otherwise, there's no means for it to be charged. And so that it can be discharged back when it's needed. And Tesla has the scale, I think, to be able to do that. They have the scale to be able to do that. And then it opens up an extremely interesting future where you can have this gigantic global network of these home stationary battery, battery packs that are like in people's homes, in apartments, as well as for utilities. And you can have this dynamic coordination of energy discharging into the grid. You can do all sorts of really interesting, nifty, crafty things. And I think that specifically is going to be an enormous market, because there's, I think, quite literally trillions of dollars worth of debt, equity, and investments that have gone into the infrastructural deployment of like for utilities and this kind of thing. And Tesla is in a position to be able to entirely disrupt that as a whole. And that is just one of their business verticals. They have so many. They have cars, they have manufacturing, they have machine learning. If all of their cars have got these extremely powerful onboard computers, what future does that? Is there like a possible AWS, cloud computing angle that can be leveraged at some point in the future? I don't know. Would it be possible at some point that Tesla expands into, what I mentioned earlier, which is heating? I think they will. roughly a third of all the energy that is consumed is for transportation. Another third is like heavy industry, and a third is like for heating. And they need to fundamentally solve that heating problem. And when they've created this heat pump for the Model 3 and later for the Model S, I think that this can be really leveraged into HVAC systems that are upscaled version of these heat pumps. And is it possible that even Tesla gets into real estate as a whole, because they have these solar roofs? Most roofs are, you don't know what exists underneath those roofs, so maybe it's just easier to build homes outright and just mass produce them, build the machine that builds the homes so that you can build homes much quicker. Whatever it is, imagination is the only barrier at this point. If it makes economic sense and they have a lot of imagination, they'll build something great. And what Tesla has that is more valuable than anything is people that are great quality and that are ideologically motivated to enhance the human condition. These are people that are working 80 hours a week at great personal sacrifices to their own lives in terms of, I could go bar hopping, I could go clubbing, I could be socializing, I could be doing all these nice things. But no, I have a vocationally oriented attitude where I'm going to be just fixated during this short period of time where I think it's sustainable for me to help this company do great things. And I think that there's this vortex of influence and admiration that surrounds Tesla, in large part because the crowds, the populations of the world have become extremely frustrated with how the governments of the world are handling the climate change problem. A lot of people just feel let down by how unambitious some of these curbing of emission goals are. And they've been looking everywhere for so long for an entity to be able to make drastic changes quickly. And lo and behold, this entity comes from the private sector. It's a company that has at its head a very controversial, very ambitious CEO. And I think that this company is one of the things that people view this company strongly as is humanity's, how would I put it? It is basically Tesla is viewed as a global bet on decarbonization. I think that's the most important thing. And people forget that they're joined at the hip with another company, which is called SpaceX, where they basically, the fact that they're both run by Elon means that he has essentially the executive power to order some of these Tesla teams to help SpaceX teams when they need it, and vice versa. And as a result, you're able to leverage incredible competencies and experiences and skills from both industries to help each other out. And this network effect of competencies from like tier 1 engineering talent, I don't think it exists anywhere else. And gradually the footprint of companies that do this is growing, with Elon Musk being the central node in there, be it Neuralink, be it the Boring Company, Tesla, SpaceX, and others. And people should, I think, realize that none of these companies operate as a siloed, compartmentalized, isolated entity. I think there's a great degree of cross-pollination of ideas from each of these, and people are not necessarily pricing that into the valuations of these companies. So that's that. I really like Tesla, as you might be inferring from all this blah 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 I'm talking about. But yeah, just thank you very much for watching this video with me. My name is Luca, and here at Look at Me Look, I love to look at YouTube videos, and if you like looking at others look at YouTube videos, then don't forget to subscribe. And I'll be seeing you next time. Take care.